Hi there, this is my channel, Jaru Walks. In the year 2024, I will embark on an epic walking journey across the United States. My plan is to walk 8,000 miles across the US 3 times, via the Appalachian Trail, the Pacific Crest Trail, and the Continental Divide Trail. In the hiking world, this is known as a calendar year Triple Crown, and has only been completed by a handful of people in history. I plan to post weekly updates along the way, so you can join me for the journey. Alright, so I'm working my way through the Dartmouth campus now. These red brick, old American buildings might give you a flashback to something we saw earlier on the trail, which is the prep school in Connecticut. Similar style of architecture, old American, red brick. Looks like the Harvard campus. But you'll note, if you go back and look at the video, the architecture and the quality of the construction of the Connecticut prep school was many times higher than even the Dartmouth campus. Walking across the Dartmouth athletics field. I heard a rumor that you're allowed to sleep back here somewhere. Probably not going to investigate it further, because I got to keep moving a little bit to the next shelter. But all things considered, I feel like Dartmouth was pretty cool, or Hanover. And the route that I'm taking tonight is down this cliff, down in the fold between these two hills, and then up that mountain there to the peak. Is where I'll be sleeping tonight. Near the peak, and the snow is showed. I read in the notes that there was a cabin up here, and it's not marked on the GPS map, so I just was wandering down every corridor up here till I found this thing, which I think is a shelter. I hope it's open. That would be so not nice if it was locked. No. Oh my god. Yes. It's got windows. Oh my god, yes. This is exciting. Okay, sweet. So that was an awesome development, finding this shelter. I'm all set up now. I have all my stuff hung up to dry. You can see roughly what the room looks like, rafters on top. But it's fully enclosed, which is just amazing. Because it's not only rainy out tonight, but foggy. And the fog is something that even if you set your tarp up or even your tent up, it permeates into onto your sleeping bag. And so to be in an enclosed space where the fog doesn't affect me is just, you couldn't have picked a better night for a fully enclosed shelter. So very happy that this unmarked shelter is actually here. Pretty awesome. Thank you, shelter. Yeah, it's just hard to describe. It's like you could stay in a 5-star hotel somewhere with money. But there's an energy up here that's magical. It's just you and the birds and the moss and the trees, and really, there's just really something magical about getting up here at the peak level. Not on every mountaintop, but on many. And this is one of those ones. And this shelter is not even marked on the map, so pretty much a surprise. And as continues to be the theme, the snow is a lot worse on the northern side, which I suppose is shadier, or the sun just doesn't hit it as directly as it does the south side of the mountain. The snow has these vicious post holes that just They're like little mines. You're walking and you don't know when you're going to sink through the... The plan for today is I camped out like 20 miles from the base of Mount Moosilauke. Mount Moosilauke is the first scary, dangerous, technically challenging mountain in the Whites. Even for the last like 3 or 4 days, pretty much since I got off of Mount Killington, there was about a day of mental recovery because that was pretty scary. Mount Killington was a 4K mountain, for example, but it's not as challenging as Moosilauke. And yeah, Moosilauke is right up there with like, I'm speaking from not experience yet, but probably one of the top 3 most challenging mountains on the AT, and in the Whites. And so anyway, my plan was to give myself an easy 20-mile day, mostly downhill, to get into the base of the mountain. I already have a hostel that's arranging to pick me up somewhere between 6 and 9 p.m. when I arrive. I was thinking I would hit it like at 6 p.m. or even earlier because it's mostly downhill and easy, but that snow section back there surprised me. Slowed me down quite a bit. So I guess we'll just have to reassess at some point. I mean, I get until 8 now, or 9 tonight. But I'd like to make good time so that I can get in. I have a number of kind of winter gear items that I've had mailed in to that hostel. Going to rearrange my pack. And then I think, as of right now, the plan is early tomorrow morning, make my attempt on Moosilauke, because I'm a lot better off starting at, basically right at sunrise and giving myself the entire day of sunlight to chip away at it than, sleeping in until 10 and starting it at midday, because then, you could be coming down the side of the slope at night. And one of the challenges with that would be at night, stuff can freeze that was slush during the day, and you could have a different trail you're working with. And Moosilauke, for those who don't know, is just it's so steep. Like, the steepest thing I've encountered yet is around 1,400 feet per mile, and that's pretty much going up large stair steps. Moosilauke is in places, I believe, 1,800 feet per mile, and it might even be 2,000 feet per mile. I'll fact check that. But it's ultra steep. It's I think tomorrow, if I do start it in the morning, could quite well be just a 9 or a 10 mile day, moving at like 1 mile an hour. I think that's worst case scenario. Maybe it's better and the snow's higher up, but I don't really know what to expect because nobody has gone through yet this year. There's no one to look ahead to on trail and be like, oh, that's what it's going to be. I'm the person kind of, at least on the AT path, finding my way through it. So, yeah, definitely legitimately a little bit nervous for Moosilauke. It's like the first, I should have been nervous for Killington. I didn't know what I was walking into on that mountain, but I am aware that I should be on guard for Moosilauke. So, yeah. Anyway, that's where I'm at. Try to make tracks today, get resupplied, get new gear, and then hopefully tomorrow morning head out for Moosilauke. Something I was just thinking about randomly as I'm coming down this hill is, months ago and weeks ago, I was at Uncle Johnny's where it was a hostel and I had a wood burning stove. I think it was in the video that I put up for that week. I started the fire and I was sleeping or going to bed and it was raining outside and I talked all about it. And, staying in that cottage up on the mountain last night where there is no fireplace, but I am in an enclosed 4-wall space. Not exposed to the elements. I realized this morning coming down, between that fireplace and even staying in that cottage without the fireplace, but with 4 walls, in a decent little cottage there, prior to doing this extended trip through wilderness, basically living outside, I always imagined people living in the 1800s in 1700s, like, man, it's also almost like they're just different people, almost a different type of human. And like, it's subconscious. I'm not saying I have articulated in my mind the words. People in the 19th century are subhuman or some other sort of human. It's just like a way of expressing this sense of disconnection from those people, maybe in part because there's no film from the 19th century with audio and color, you know, and like, in a way, when you watch a movie like The Wizard of Oz, it brings the people of that era to life. And so anyway, going off on a quick tangent, but coming back to the main point, on Instagram, there have been these like reels, these short little videos where people in the modern era have taken old film that was black and white, filmed in places like Paris, Rome, Italy, Washington, D.C., you know, and at cafes in the years like 1890 or 1870. So old film footage of people just hanging out, you know, and there's no cell phones, there's no computers, there's, you know, so many of the things we have, they're not there, but they colorized it. And whereas before it would always look like hokey, like, you know, like, nah, sir. Like it's not like that. It's like you really have the sense, whoa, these are all just friends hanging, you know? Like you feel it when you watch it, when you see it done with really well done color. It may even be artificial intelligence doing it. And you realize like, wow, everyone in that shot and that film is dead now. But like they all knew each other. And like when you walk past these graveyards from 1700, straight up, like there are tombstones I walk past that are from the 1700s and 1800s. You realize there's these whole eras of people that have known each other and they're all gone. And there's something both beautiful and sad in that, but even more so beautiful. And through this hike, I've been able to connect like on some emotional, deeper level with the communities that have existed prior to my own. And another form of connection, bringing the tangent back now from Instagram reels where people have colorized old film footage in the past, but bringing it back to what I was talking about, living in or occasionally staying in these four-walled structures that are not lean-tos with 3 walls. I've got 4 walls and a roof, but no heating. I realize, like, when I go to bed at night and when I wake up in the morning, I would have thought before, like, oh my God, like, those people, they wake up and they're just shivering and cold. It's not like that. Your body adjusts to it after an amount of time. So, like, when you go to bed at night, you feel warm, you feel cozy, you feel good. You feel the cold air, but, like, you're awake and you're alive from it. And you feel warm in your bag, and when you wake up in the morning, it's not that bad. You know, certainly, I guess in the winter, it's going to be a real struggle. But now, like, if you think about it, for 3/4 of the year, it's really not that bad. Spring, summer, and fall. And, like, I would say especially in spring and fall, that's where your body really can adjust to it. I would say in winter, you are pretty, like, shivery and miserable when you wake up in the morning. But even still, if you had a 4-walled structure and you had a fireplace in there, like at the point that you have a fireplace, you're straight up set. You're not cold at all anymore. And so, you know, I've always found that cold in the winter is much more miserable than air conditioning in the summer. And there's always like people who, in my opinion, don't know what they're talking about, who push back and say, no, I couldn't live without air conditioning. It's like, trust me, you've lived without air conditioning. You've experienced that. But who's experienced living without heating in the winter? You go to your friend's house. You don't even stay in your house. Like, you're so not, it's just not a factual statement. Anyway, living in these 4-walled structures, there's such a difference between having 3 walls and having no walls. There's a big difference between having 3 walls and having 4 walls. And there's a big difference between having 4 walls with a fireplace, you know, like the 1800 stovetop thing. And then there is a big difference between central air and heating and 4 walls with a fireplace. But the differences between all those ones before, like no shelter to having a 3-walled shelter, is bigger than the difference of going from a 4-walled structure with a fireplace in it to modern heating, which to me blows my mind that that's true.
it just seems like such a jump, and it is a jump to go to modern heating. But I'm telling you, those other jumps of civilization from no shelter to shelter, from no shelter to three-walled shelter. I mean, here's some people are like, why is that mind-blowing? It's like, well, would you really think that staying in like a three-walled wooden shelter that's missing a whole wall, so when it rains it can blow on you, when it's misty it gets on you, when it's cold you feel the cold, there's no insulation, like, would you think that would be that different from, like, I don't know, like setting up a tarp in the woods, which is what I've been doing? And yes, it's very different, and it's so nice. It's so nice, like having a flat floor even to lie on. Like, there's all these little details that I would never be aware of were it not for what I've done in the last 5 to 6 months hiking across Arizona and now most of the East Coast, and in winter. And I remember what it was like back in the fall in the desert and how amazing and warm it was. You get out of your bag and you just start moving down the mountain or down the desert. It was so nice. I'm so excited to be back in the warm air and maybe in the desert in California coming up here on the PCT in a couple of weeks, to maybe a little over a month. Or tomorrow if I fail at Moosilauke. But anyway, kind of the point of all this is I feel some deeper sense of connection to people from before the year 1900, because I've started to experience a sort of life that is similar to what they experienced in terms of being exposed to the elements and whatnot. Now I have a lot of modern comforts that still buffer me from those struggles, but at the same time, I've really stepped into that world quite a bit as well. And so that's one of the really fun things about these hikes, is not only are you closer to nature, but you're closer to humanity and historical civilization over centuries preceding your current era. So I think that's a really neat part of it. Like, before, it would be like, I don't know, like if you are a kid and you hear your parents try to talk about modern technology, or your grandparents talk about modern technology, it's almost cringy because they don't quite understand what they're talking about, right? And so that's in a reverse direction, where someone is older talking about something more modern, so going to the future. But if you hear modern people talk about what life was like in, let's say, the year 1890, I feel like now, with all of the stuff that I've been exposed to, with the winter elements and seasonal elements and changes in weather conditions and whatnot, that when I hear a person who lives in a city talk about what it must have been like in the 1900s, or what it's like to move through nature more broadly, it's almost cringy. There's such a lack of experience there, or lack of awareness. And that's not to say if someone is asking questions, but it is to say if someone's just like pointing the finger and saying it how it is. To me, it now sounds and feels a lot like, a grandparent lecturing you on why you should be using this operating system over that operating system on your laptop or something. Not that they would ever do that, but try to explain to you how technology actually is, when usually they, in that type of a situation, wouldn't quite be as immersed in it and know what they're talking about, which can feel kind of, I don't know, cringy and frustrating. So anyway, the positive note here is I feel closer to people from the years like 1900 and later. Or is that earlier? Before the year 1900.
Get anything out of your backpack?
No, I got my.
These,
Yeah.
I guess, are bird dogs.
I just love the name, the Bird Dog Cafe. So,
Even though we're in public. So your stuff in there, not mine.
oh my god, it smells so good in here. It smells like ginger snaps. Yeah, I was saying this is like out of a 1960s movie or something. Like Audrey Hepburn is driving through in a convertible or something.
We got clear blue skies. Never have I wanted to see that more than this morning. Because this morning I'm going into the whites. There we go. Moosilauke summit, 3.9 miles ahead. Can't be that bad. All right, I'm at 3,500 feet now, and this is definitely getting harder. It's kind of like a game of don't step on the lava, but the lava is just an ice flow. It's like a glacier. Okay, I'm at the peak now, but I'm working my way along it. It's about a mile to the main summit of Moosilauke. So yeah, one more mile to go, and then I guess it's downhill from there. We'll see. It really feels like this whole hike has been building towards these mountains. I am so happy to be up here. Smokies were beautiful too, but there's just something different and special about, I guess, Moosilauke, and maybe more to come. You could see kind of the trail conditions of the snow is kind of thinned out because the trees are not as tall up here. I think I must be about to go right above the tree line because all these trees are like as tall as me. It's strange. So the north side is definitely snowier and meltier and more challenging. Again, you have no idea how to tell how steep that is, but you go straight down. That's the steepest thing I've seen yet, and then the creek is right there and there's no trees there, so that's actually slidable. So I'm just going to take this very slowly and carefully, but if you did lose control, you'd fall into that little creek river right there. I don't know if you can see my butt track, but I just fell and slid to here, grab that tree. I just slipped right there and I slid. You can see my leg tracks. Slid to here, grabbed onto that tree, and look. This is the section with stair steps, but there's no stair steps right now, so it's just an ice chute. You can see him right there. Down, I'm just filming briefly because I'm safe where I am, but this is the sketchiest thing I have done on trail. This is straight down. We got icy stairs. This will be fun. All right, I think I can safely say I made it out of the sketchiest part there. Maybe I should wait till I'm at the bottom now. Man, like the sound of that waterfall as you're coming down is just like this continuous background roar. It's almost like the sound of the focus as you're just, you know, carefully choosing your footsteps and where to put your trekking poles. That reminded me of like rock climbing. When you climb, no matter what you have going on in your head, you have like it all just evaporates and you're 100% focused on what's happening. There's no way to like rock climb and daydream about other stuff. You have to be 100% focused. And that's how that stretch was. That's how it was when I was on Katahdin too. I remember. And yeah, like on Killington, just these different stretches where it's like you've got to keep moving for safety or stay super focused so you don't make just like a grave error. Which, I don't know, it's like every time you walk across a bridge, you know, if you fell off it, you'd be in trouble, but you choose your steps carefully, and it's the same thing on the trail. Just a little less margin for error. So quick little check-in. I'm here at the Notch Hostel now. I get this whole room to myself, which is amazing. But today is their opening day for the season. Like as of yesterday, I think nobody was here. So it's just serendipitous that this so worked out that I literally was passing through on the day that they opened, because this is the hostel that I was like the only hostel I'd heard of before I got on the AT, and the one that I was most excited to come visit. And so anyway, I'm excited to be here on their opening night. I guess there's some other people who are staying here who are not obviously through hikers. So maybe there'll be some other people here. But Bluebird, who's running, or one of the people running the hostel, just gave me a tour of the house. And I asked her, once we got up to the third level, which I'm at, you can see the roof just kind of comes down behind me. The third level of actually the entire house itself was built sometime in the late 1800s. And so when you get all the way up here, you see all these like unique features to it. One, I can smell, it's like this old house, like musty, but like in a good way, like old book smell. But like, look at the way that like the roof contours over here. It comes along flat, and then it comes down, and then it comes to this like corner here on the wall, and then it continues over. So this wall is actually like scaling over. It's really interesting the way that the house is designed. It's not every day that you get to be in a house that was built in the 1800s. And you can see all of like the people who've come through here. They let you like kind of graffiti your locker. Here it says "Die Zeit war sehr schön hier," which in German means the time was very beautiful here. That just caught my eye when I first looked at it. But you can see someone from India. Just from all over the world. Colombia, France. I think that's Finland. But yeah, pretty cool. Again, you can sense the life that's here. And so I was talking to Bluebird, man, it must be super busy here when the bubble rolls through. And she was saying that they have something like 25 beds in-house that you can stay in, plus they have outside, plus they have private rooms. And so I don't know what the total number of people that they can have stay here, what they max out at, but it's something like, I would guess, like 30 to 40 people. And so on occasion they can have, or she was saying that when the bubble's rolling through or in season, that basically every single night of the week they churn out the equivalent of like a Thanksgiving meal for a giant family. So I don't know. I just think it's fun to kind of describe like what makes this place so special. There are all these other hostels on the trail, and they're all awesome, and we all appreciate them. But there's a whole staff here. Like most of the people who work here have through hiked the trail, or they, have hiked most of the 48s or something. Like they're very experienced hikers here. So, just everything about this place is so cool, and tasteful and thoughtful. So I'm just very excited to be here today. So I wanted to make sure to go out of my way to stay here. And it literally worked out perfectly with my schedule. And I think I might end up staying here one more night tomorrow night as well, to do like a 16-mile day over the Kinsmans. And then if I finish at a reasonable hour, I'll see if they'll just shuttle me back here and I'll spend the night here again. So pretty cool.